Bretton Lee John is a High River-based roots artist who is about to release his debut album. A deeply personal trip through family lineage, death, and the cultural touchpoints that connect us prairie folk. It's a brave record to make and an intimidating one to share. One that I had the pleasure of being present for during the recording sessions at No Fun Club in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I first met Bretton at an awkward open mic in the suburbs of Calgary. He was young with a cynical songwriting narrative and an encyclopedic knowledge of independent music and art. He had done his homework and he was showing up with a unique batch of songs, two qualities I always admire in a young songwriter. Since that time at that awkward open mic, I've watched Bretton grow into a quality songwriter, able to pay homage to his heroes, but retain the qualities that make him stand out from the long line of wannabe cowboy singers. This batch of songs are particularly powerful, and what a statement it will make as a debut record. For the last 2 episodes of Season 2 of the Weird in High School podcast, we sit down with our usual host to hear 2 of his songs from the upcoming record and talk about the uncertainty that comes with putting yourself out into the world.
It's the longest time I've taken to write a whole batch of songs, because I had given up on my aspirations of playing music for people. I haven't really gigged in any kind of intentional capacity for 4 years, and so I think I think all the songs in this batch are songs that come from some kind of sincere place of inspiration and have had a long enough time to grow into being the definite strongest batch of songs I've put into anything.
Could have been dreaming, it might have been wine. Could have been the kiss that felt just like sunshine. The dead of the winter in a snowy Eau Claire. Your first taste of love makes you warm anywhere. Sometimes I go back there when I'm feeling low. It's like cheap cigarettes at an all-ages show. Maybe I've gained some weight, maybe I've lost my light. Settled into this suburb and gave up the fight. And do you still think of me? Still young and angsty in your memory. It's my blind optimism suspended in time. Is it still as sweet as it is in my mind? Wonder if he knows where he's ended up now. His punk rock morals are all but thrown out. And you find out the hard way the rumors were true, that all the adults, they weren't lying to you. And I shut that boy down and I cast him aside. Despite my best efforts, turns out he's still alive. And do you still think of me? My still young and angsty in your memory is all of my anger suspended in time. Is it still as sweet as it is in my mind? And you'll love and you'll lose and you'll grow. And you get what you need, but it's slow.
This is part 1 of 2 of our conversation with Bretton Lee John. Stay tuned.
It's my attempt at my dream, and I feel like that is, it's hard not to sound vain, trying to make something and tell the world that it's worth their attention. But I've worked hard at trying to make something that's worth people's attention. And getting the right people on board is neat.
Welcome to the Weird in High School Video Podcast. We're flipping the script today. Bretton Lee John, our usual host, we're putting him in the pressure cooker, and we're going to ask him questions about his new album and life in general. But before we get started, Bretton, how you doing?
Well, doing all right. Another day, just another day.
Another day, maybe another dollar in this economy.
And in this economy, yeah. And another, what 10 cents was worth 20 years ago.
Yeah, and we are here in the beautiful Casa Art Space in Lethbridge, Alberta, one of my favorite use of public tax dollars, and bringing art to our community. And we're in the community room.
Yeah, it's more of a community theater, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a nice black box stage that you can interpret any way you want. I got to start with your first single off to your, we'll call it your debut full-length LP. Came out last week. How are you feeling?
I feel like I spent hours making a meal, and then I left it on the windowsill to see who would come by and eat it.
Is there a sense of like fear that comes with releasing music that you've, put a substantial amount of effort and heart into?
I feel like there used to be a fear when I would check Spotify numbers and thought some big break was going to come for me and launch me into the stratosphere. And this time I have, I would say, a healthy sense of, I was going to say apathy, but that sounds too gloomy of a word. But the people that hear it like it. I've gotten really positive feedback, and I think it should be pretty hard to make something that wasn't worth listening to at least once with the roster of players, even if I wasn't involved in it. But with this one, I know that whatever happens with this one, it's not because of the product this time. It's just, but I don't know. Yeah.
How do you personally feel about the record? If you remove all the fanfare and all the potential and all the fear and anxiety that comes with releasing something into the world these days, how do you personally, it's been a year, it's been close to a year since you recorded the record. How does it feel when you're 80 years old and you're looking back on it? Are you going to be happy with with that as a snapshot of your life?
I think so. I think it's worth doing just to have done it. I had a lot of fun being in the studio making it. It was honestly, if every day of my life could be like that, that would be a dream, to just go make stuff with people who are talented at making things and professional and capable. So it was worth doing for that metric. Yeah.
There's a lot of different metrics that we use and we don't use when we try to measure success on something like this. And like, unfortunately, we talk way too much about streaming numbers. And I know people that have massive streaming numbers that, you know, can't fill a small room, and there's no monetary gain. There's nothing besides the ego of numbers, which is a fallacy, really. I mean, if those numbers match up monetary wise and there's relief for your financial situation, that's different. But I'm thinking more about like, did I enjoy myself, or did I hate that process? Did I like have a meaningful experience with people? Am I going to look back fondly on this? Did I grow as an artist and a musician? Did I like scratch an itch? That's also important too. Like, I know talking about this record for a long time before you made this record, there was like a very, very large itch that you wanted to scratch.
Yeah, I wanted to make something that wasn't just in some guy's garage in a rushed schedule, and like that's probably a good way if you want to make your first thing to make your first thing, because I wouldn't have wanted to be thrown into this situation greener than I was, but it was 100% worth it just to do it. It feels pretty magical when you get to realize it in real time like that. When you're building things out track by track, it's not the same way as having a group of great players who have had the chance to hear the songs. And you were there and you witnessed it. It was some of them we found the groove pretty quickly, like pretty immediately. A song existed, just from the sum of the parts of what everyone was playing. So that's pretty cool, seeing it, like hearing your song from your bedroom turn into a full-fledged out song.
Absolutely. I was there, as we both know, and the audience doesn't, and I was filming the experience. And for me, it was like one of the highlights of my year. I loved being in that room with those people. I was looking at it as there's two things that could have happened, or a combination of these two things. Is it could have went very, very wrong, which would have made for a good documentation, would have made it exciting, or it could have went very, very well and would have made for not that climactic of a documentation of the product. But it went well, and that also is a testament to you being, you know, mature enough and ready as a player to you know, be part of kind of an all-star band. Did that feel good for you?
Yeah, I really, I think I internet nerded over, like, I learned about how Nashville sessions happen, and I learned how charts work and the number system and the way that session players work. If I didn't know that stuff, it would have been a little harder to fit into the mix. Mm-hmm. So definitely having the language, but I don't know, I was nervous going in about whether or not I would be able to fit into that mix, but mostly did. You do have to learn the verbiage and the methods of communication that those guys use, but yeah. Yeah,
and it's always different, and it's always a bit of a strange local vernacular that you got to pick up, especially in the studio. It's not Nashville, it's Winnipeg. Yeah. But they're as good players as many Nashville people, and they're borrowing certain moves from the Nashville scene.
Yeah, I feel like it has dictated, like, I don't know, they call it the Nashville number system, but it is the standard to communicate music quickly with people. And I mean, that's mostly when I teach students, that's mostly how I teach chord progressions, is because it kind of gets you out of the headspace of needing to know keys. As long as you understand the way the number system relates and where your root note is, you're good.
Yeah, yeah, it's very practical, and it makes sense. It's something you're actually going to use in a day-to-day situation like the studio to move efficiently, which you have to because of the costs associated with it. Let's back up for a sec. So when I met you many years ago, you were doing a lot more indie, kind of, would you call it indie singer-songwriter?
Yeah. I was trying to be Elliott Smith.
I mean, that there's there's a hole there that could use some filling in the Elliott Smith camp. The world has not been the same since Elliott Smith. And then you still have an affinity for that type of music, but you definitely done a hard 180 and like switched to trad country. I know that's a big part of your upbringing. Why now? Why did you feel that was important to your artistic voyage?
It was more a function of, I think if you grow up in the country, you either embrace it completely and like become one of those people you either have friction or no friction in that lifestyle. And I was the friction reaction where I was like, I don't want any part of this. I'm going to go skateboard. And I would ride my bike down Highway 8 to go to the skate park for like an hour and a half. And then I'd get to the skate park and couldn't skate because I'd just ridden a bike for an hour and a half. But then, I mean, really it was COVID. It was that all my, because I was like trying mentally to be full send on the indie rock lifestyle, and you can't really go live in your car and tour when the world shuts itself down. And then I was at home around all the farmy things again and started finding a different meaning in training this horse that my grandpa had sitting out in the pasture, and then that I guess re-endeared me to that life and its aesthetics. It's also convenient in one way that that's an aesthetic and a genre that has an audience outside of the same 5 people that go to the local bar and participate in the like record store head music scene too.
Yeah, it feels like most of the time it's a genre that's there's less posturing, I feel, and there's more people that will show up and decide for themselves as opposed to someone else has already decided for them whether they can like or dislike something. Do you find that's somewhat accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I feel 2 ways about it, at risk of sounding pretentious, but that same, like, it's more kind of every man's music, which I like about it. And when it's done really well, it's great. There's also a lot of it that's like quite kind of, I don't know, like or it's like, really, that's your lyrical choice? like there is a lot of it where you can use the kind of like pretentious read a book criticism, but like it's a mixed bag. I mean, but there's just more of it. Mm-hmm. It's more applicable. But what I like about it too is that it's like, if you grow up in southern Alberta and you're into all the indie stuff, you feel like you live in the middle of nowhere, like place that doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. If you grow up in southern Alberta and you're interested in rodeo, you're in the center of the universe for that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's a total perspective shift on how meaningful any given place is. And I guess I like the one where every single farm you drive past is possibly an interesting story a bit more than I like the one where it's like, you have to be from a top 3 city for it to matter. Like,
mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. I think it's not that it's an easier voyage as an artist. It's just that you're in a place with this genre of music where there's potential, where if you're playing indie rock in, southern Alberta or Calgary, Alberta, anywhere, it's like you're fighting such an uphill battle, and you're just not in the market. And of course, there's been instances where different markets have, like Saddle Creek, for example, where Omaha, they put Omaha on the map as an artistic place, but that's a tough thing. That's an uphill battle for sure if you're trying to develop that from the ground up.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of wonder now if that's going to happen more frequently in the internet age. Like, if you're a YouTuber, it doesn't matter where you live, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, other than there are some domestic content laws that may influence how you are spread in different countries, but for the most part, you can be anywhere and make something and theoretically, somewhat democratically reach an audience.
Yeah, place is so much less important than it ever was. But also on the flip side, for me, it's like, it's never been more important, because when we move into this like digital era, I'm like, I really want my art to reflect where I'm from and sort of be an honest critic and a champion of that. And I think that's going to be missing in this digital age.
I feel like you can already hear homogeneity. Like, it's a funny example, but my wife was watching this bakery renovation show, Canadian show, and like they were in this bakery in Fredericton that was generational, and the daughter wanted to take it over, and her dad and her grandma had Acadian accents, and the daughter didn't. And I feel like that's already a symptom of like internet homogeneity, is like even losing regional dialects. Like,
Yeah.
you're possibly not going to have young people that still have a regional accent or dialect when everything they're exposed to is global. Like,
Yeah, and I often wonder about our, our Western scene, if you call it that, with music or culture. If it's like we're often doubling as American Western scene, and if that's good for anybody. I think there's a great lyric by Jason Collette said, "We all want to sing American," and we drive in kilometers, but we still sing in miles. And there's still some like points where I don't think we're full, like where, like you said earlier off camera, that High River has never played itself, and I think that's a good point. It's been in countless TV shows and films now, and when's it's High River's turn to be good enough to be High River?
I remember, and this is like a niche nerdy thing, but there's an episode of Heartland where they're showing like a meteorological map because there's some terrible downpour coming in or something, and because High River, the town in Heartland is called Hudson, and then on the map when they show it on TV in Heartland, Hudson is where High River actually is, but in other times in the show they've referred to High River existing. So I'm really curious about where High River does actually exist in the Heartland canon universe.
Yeah,
but
it's there
that was
somewhere.
like the ultimate jab to High River. But I mean, why can't it either? Like, people don't. I feel like, look at K-pop, like cultural capital is a serious thing that like Omaha can be put on the map, and doesn't really matter. You just need to show people things they like, and then also it also happens that all the stuff you like is coming from this place, and now they're into it. Now it's cool.
And don't pretend that it's not there. Like I think with the Saddle Creek thing in Omaha, a pioneer record label in the indie world and the folk world, and one of the things they did differently from the start is they did not pretend to be somewhere else. They owned it. And K-pop too, it's like, they didn't hide that it was K-pop. It was like that was part of it. They just owned it. And I think that's when we're pretending when we're always pretending we're someone else, then you can never ever advance to that level, or make that like sonic cultural revolution.
I feel like you can even see, I can tell that like Coulter Wall, Corb Lund is getting a lot more popular stateside than he was at Noli and Hoffman. There is like the Yellowstone effect. Western aesthetics are having a moment of mainstream appeal right now. And along with that, these Canadian players in that have really risen to the top, and I feel like there's some kind of like Canadian exoticism to it too, that like, to reference Coulter Wall again, when you say we sing in miles, he mostly doesn't, and the times he does, I don't think it's, I think it's to communicate, not to pander. There's a kid I went to high school with who's like, he lives in Nashville now, and he'd make corpo country music. But I remember us making fun of, he had a song about something about the county line. And it's like, we don't care about the county line here. It doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
It was such a blatant pander. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why we like people like Coulter or Corb is because there is an authenticity that, and like you said, it's like when you're singing about the county line and you're from, Alberta, it feels wrong to me anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's people that don't care, but I care. I care a lot about that.
And the county line doesn't matter when you have federal police, like, because that's always what the point of the county line is, right?
Yes.
It's like, but I mean, so even in context, that contextually does mean nothing to us here, based on like, and those little things do make a difference, as much as like, I would hope that someone making folk music in Prince Edward Island isn't trying to pander to Albertans. I hope they're not changing their PEI details. You know, like I want to hear about that. The more I can hear about things that are different than what I tend to, the more interested I am.
Yeah.
So
what would, you know, as someone that's just kind of about to put out this record, how would you do it differently next time, or what would good look like for the next record, or what's a new itch that you want to scratch with that? Do you have any dreams coming up?
I kind of have this romantic vision that, like when we talked about it, you know, like some people spend that on a trip to Europe and they have nothing to show for it after. Like, I think it'd be cool to. I think I don't. On a realistic level, it's like even at the top level, making records that way is pretty financially unsustainable. You're very unlikely to earn back the money you spend making something high quality, like even at the highest level. Like you won't get another Counting Crows August and everything after. Like a record that sounds that good won't happen anymore. But it was so fun and it was so cool, and the way I did it. I mean, recording at No Fun in Winnipeg, it's value for money on how nice that studio is incredible. Anyway, it was such a cool experience. I wouldn't change the way this happened, but I do sort of have the dream of like basically, you know, like instead of doing like the guy's golf trip that, you know, as you go through life, maybe like try to have a piggy bank fund to make a cool record every 5 years. And do it with different people. Like
I like that. That's a neat way to look at it. Yeah.
Like we did that one with those guys. I mean, I'd work with that whole group all over again. But also, Afi Irvin in Bahamas kind of does that. Every time he makes a record, he does it somewhere different with a different group of people. And sometimes they're awesome, and sometimes I don't like them as much. But I respect that he did that anyway. So
yeah, there's such a different thought process. It's like, every time you change the variables, you're going to get a different result, whether you like it or not. And every time you like, you know, keep the band together, if you will, and don't change things, it's like, that's how you build rapport and build camaraderie. And there's like, you play differently. And there's huge arguments about both sides. And I see the value to both sides. And part of me I find whatever I'm doing, if I finish a record with a band, then the next thing I'm dreaming about doing a folk record at my kitchen table with, you know, late at night drinking coffee, just because it's different than how I just did it, kind of thing. But yeah, I think that I was curious if you had.
I work hard, I've got a car. Oh, would you go with me? Oh, would you go with me? Times that came and times that went. Star-crossed lovers moved along till the day she came crying to him, and he had to ask her what on earth was wrong. I'm marrying you anyway so we can share a name. Oh, what on earth could our sweet baby change?
Thank you for listening to part 1 of our conversation with roots artist and former Lethbridgeite, Bretton Lee John. Stay tuned for part 2 of our conversation on the next and final version of the Weird in High School podcast. Bretton has recently released songs from his debut record. You can find these songs on all streaming platforms. Please consider giving them a listen and sharing with friends if you feel compelled to do so. Thanks.